just gonna go down in time. This is makes it
happen. Graced up there. Oh, Dicey.
Oh my God, J-Mo, the champion of this one.
Oh, Asuna! He gets the triple off the rocket. It's the full.
Welcome on back in, folks. It is finally Championship Sunday here for Valorant Challengers #1. It's the open qualifiers, and of course, we still have a banger of a matchup. It is a best of 5 to prove who is really coming out of this open qualifier alive and thriving. My name is Upmind, joined here by Sully, and we have Immortals and Envy in a banger of a BO5.
True, this one is heated up already. Both teams coming, we started with 128 teams. We have our 8 that are going to make it to the close qualifiers, but now we're looking to see who's going to have that #1 seeding going into next week. And boy, Envy versus Immortals. Who would have thought that Immortals would have even made it this far? To me, at least, bringing in 2 new players, and with such little time together, they made one heck of a run. They took down Sentinels, they took down Cloud9, Xset, Big Frames. I mean, they took down a whole plethora of top 10 teams, and they have made their way to the grand finals against what could be a top 5 North American team.
And yesterday, I mean, you still had very much a top 3 caliber team
Cool.
that Immortals ended up taking down in terms of Sentinels. And it was almost the same thing with Envy. They were the juggernauts heading into the game, but NRG, they had a whole lot of momentum heading into Saturday, but still ended up being a 2-0 for Envy, keeping their streak absolutely alive. They're 12-0 thus far in terms of maps in this tournament, and you see why. Envy with a massive start to the game, but NRG, they still started heating up, Sully.
Yeah, the Envy NRG game, I really feel like that in the first map, NRG was completely out of the way. You had Daps on the rain, it was a little bit strange, and then you had Som, I think, playing the stage. So, I mean, NRG made a couple of agent compositions. Again, this is all for seeding to see who gets the better bragging rights going to the close qualifier, and these teams are looking to figure out where they stand. And NRG, they wanted to do something tricky. They wanted to maybe throw something at the Envy side they weren't expecting. Now, Immortals versus Sentinels, you watch that game, and I feel like there are 2 players in particular on Immortals that just stand out. Shot up, had an amazing performance. I think he's 3rd overall best in this event so far. And then the new play Chemicals looked insane as well.
Both players. Shot up is actually 2nd overall in this tournament thus far in terms of statistics. And not only that, but Chemicals, although not exactly the best stats throughout the entire tournament, but this guy is still very much at the top of the server in terms of yesterday. It was absolutely fragging up a one person, actually 2 players for Sentinels that still ended up racking on the frags. Of course, had to be sick and Shazam. Still, Immortals, they were able to edge out what would be a very difficult Icebox, really their tallest challenge on Icebox thus yet. But when we went over towards Ascent, it was a total curveball because Sentinels, they looked real good on this map.
Yeah, Sentinels, they looked absolutely fantastic. It was such a close series as well. I mean, Immortals, I mean, it was very back and forth. It felt like this clutch in particular, I think, caught everybody's eye. The last-second save by Sinatra, the jumping operator. I mean, yesterday, I feel like this entire event has just been an event full of highlights, and we've seen the best out of both teams, and we've seen the best out of the top 8 teams making a close qualifier. And moving forward, it is going to be super exciting to see where all these teams stand going into Masters.
Absolutely. A mixed bag of tier 1, tier 2 potential teams, because at the very top, of course, Carpe knocked him. Who's that? That's the team that ended up taking down 100 Thieves. That's how NRG made it in. But then we go down to the teams that have made it here for the grand finals. Envy, they had more or less an easier time in the earlier bracket, but then they started catching on some real tough opponents. Equinox, a team that has definitely been rising ever since the days of China Win, and then LG. This was really the matchup that was the highlight for me of quarterfinals. It was the battle between the 2 teams that really wanted to solidify their position in the scene. LG coming in as Winter Championships, and Envy at that point was a little bit more AFK, as in Winter Championships, I mean, they ended up getting 5th, ended up going down early. So rebuilding into this tournament, taking down LG, massive. Same thing with NRG yesterday. And Immortals, you see the path. It's super, super important that they were able to catch up this momentum, especially with the new roster.
Right, yeah. I mean, Immortals, we kind of talk about we can talk about all day long and just how great Chemical and Nature are. But yeah, the run they had was no easy feat. You guys saw it yesterday against Sentinels. They looked insane. Their trade fracking potential was outrageous. Immortals coming to this one. It's hard to say who's the favorites because everybody on this server looks like they can pop off at any given moment. I mean, Immortals, you've got the fracking potential of Shot Up, Chemicals on that Operator, and the IGLing style of Nature. It all meshes together. It all looks really good for Immortals. In this best of 5 map, I said 2 days ago that we could have had a banger 3 map with Envy and NRG, but this one truly looks like we could go the distance.
I'm feeling it because here's the thing, right? Because this is still open qualifiers, the top 8 teams, they had already made their way into closed.
Yeah.
There's not too much to really fight for after that. So instead now, you have all of these teams still switching up their compositions, picking out new maps. And what better way to really experiment than a full best of 5 here, Sully? So absolutely, I still see this going the distance, mainly because both teams, I mean, it's the tired stereotype, almost like a meme at this point, that it's saving strats for the major. We've made it to the major, but really these players are still tiptoeing their way around to actually utilizing that strat book and whatnot. But I'm very much anticipating an even game, especially with some of the curveballs that Envy and Immortals might throw at us. And here are the rosters. Again, we've already highlighted a couple players, but for me, Envy, one person that I'm going to absolutely expect to pop off today is going to be none other than the Battle Sage, Food.
Oh yeah, Food. I remember that game against, or way back too, like feels like a while ago now, but yeah, Caboose had an absolute insane series. He looked really, really good here against NRG. It really was though Caboose. It felt like that everyone on Envy had their moment to shine. Caboose yesterday looked fantastic. Crashies alone as well last night against NRG in this series had 50 kills and 26 deaths across the 2 maps that they played. And then Caboose overall in this event, 211 kills, 158 deaths for 18 kills average per map. I mean, those 2 in particular stand out the most. Food, like you said, on the battle stage, he can pop up at any moment. I remember had in some insane clutch 4Ks, but again, those are the players I think we should really be watching out for. Obviously, Food being that kind of deciding factor in a couple of these clutch situations. FNS as well was fantastic on the Cypher. Was a really good backdoor exit for a lot of them. There is so much going on. And again, back to Immortals, Shot Up here. One of the best clips of the day. He just had an insane event overall. You mentioned 287 kills, 184 deaths across 281 rounds, and he averaged 20 kills per map. Individually, Immortals have what it takes to stack up against Envy, and we can see so many great plays today.
Because you spread it between both Shot Up and Chemicals. Of course, Shot Up coming in today with a 1.44 combat score. But not only that, but you still have ADR, with the ADR at least 174. Chemicals right below him, not that far away, 137 ADR and an 18 kill average per map. Again, these two looking to absolutely pop up, but still you brought in Nature in a completely new environment, in a sense, in a new role, and he was still able to get the crucial trade kills in a sense. I was more or less memeing yesterday with the, I guess you could say, impact frags, but that was almost literally what it was. He has some sort of clutch gene in him. But ladies and gentlemen, this is our map pool, and we're seeing a petri dish of every map in the pool.
Yeah, our first 3 maps being split, Icebox and Bind. Just off the get-go, Immortals, their insta-ban is always going to be split. For Envy, their insta-ban is always going to be Icebox. So having these two as our first maps, I mean, both teams are playing the other team's weaknesses. Obviously, Envy, they have been declared, or at least poised to be one of the best in North America because of the fact that they are the best on split. We saw that way before First Strike map and how good they were on split. They seem to have mastered that map. Whereas Immortals, they're 0-1 currently, but there are no slouches on it either. They played against Cloud9, lost 10-13, and Cloud9 blew with the recent changes. They themselves have looked good on split, so don't count Immortals out just yet. But on Icebox, that's where the sample size, at least for me, starts to get really small. Envy, they haven't played in quite some time. I think they're currently 1-1 at the moment, losing to Sentinels 4-13, and the only other win they have is against Immortals. That was way back in First Strike. So the sample size for Envy is incredibly small in Icebox. So again, these first 2 maps, while they are the weaknesses of the opposing team, they still could easily be up in the air.
Oh, absolutely. Still, you mentioned Icebox. I still see that going over towards the side of Immortals. And let me remind people, Envy, they haven't lost a singular map thus yet in this tournament. Immortals, they look hot on Icebox. They look like one of the best in NA thus far. But with the stakes of some of those Icebox maps, maybe it might have been a team going a little bit more experimental with it, but you can't take away that credit. Immortals coming into this with almost a completely fresh roster, and they were still able to really mold those last 2 players around on a really good counter pick map.
Yeah.
But when you go over towards Bind, it's a little bit more even in a sense, with both teams at just about the 78 to 80% win rate territory. But one very important thing about Bind, Immortals hasn't played it at all in this tournament. None of these new players know how to play Bind together yet. Of course, they would know how to play scrims and all that, but in this tournament, they haven't even tried it out, even in the early rounds. But more importantly, if we're talking about consistent maps, if we're talking about maps that Immortals can absolutely pop off on, we're talking about Ascent and Haven.
Yeah, Ascent and Haven, at least for the side of Immortals, and 100% win rate so far. They are currently 5-0. These last 3 maps, Bind, Ascent, Haven, they are the biggest key factors. We obviously talked about how Split and Icebox are going to be the maps that are the weaknesses for the opposing team. But then when we get down to the nitty gritty, like you said, Ascent and Haven are where things get a little bit strange. On a Haven, Immortals currently 4-1. As a core 5 with an 80% overall win rate. And then for the side of Envy, they as well are a very strong team, currently 6-4 in their past 10 games. So those last 2 maps, they could be very up in the air, especially on Bind, with Envy having a 9-1 record so far. They have looked dominant so far in this event. These 3 maps in particular, the last 3, are where things really come down to the small factors, those 50-50 fights, those 1v1s, who's feeling it, because this is a best of 5. You need to have that endurance going all 5 maps.
If we ended up flipping the map pool to the other side, in a sense, ended up reversing it, this set to me would be, I guess, a little bit more contested in a sense. We would have a lot of the action early on, but I guess that's just the drama of BO5s in a sense, because still you get the 2 teams, they get to have their own solid map picks and no bans at all. Doesn't matter if you have an insta ban, doesn't matter if you're not comfortable on a map, you have to play it out. But again, like I mentioned, because you got to be comfortable on every map going into a tournament like VCT, oh boy, you got to play them. This BO5 is going to be the biggest opportunity, and we're starting off on Split, and Agent Select is live.
Oh, it doesn't look like there are actually any major agent changes. These are the agent selections that these teams have been running since they started. Immortals on this side, they've got obviously the Killjoy on Nature, Gangsta on the Sage, which could be a slight curveball. I think that the Sage on both sides could definitely be very beneficial to the side of Envy and Immortals. We saw, again, what you mentioned, Food on the Sage. He had some insane 4K, some insane clutch plays for Envy, and then crashes as well on the Sky. Envy have been trying to implement Sky over and over in almost every single engine composition, and they've used it to I feel like it's maximum potential, right? Crash has been very good sending those guiding lights, getting lots of early information, playing around those guiding lights, and using all the util to its maximum potential. So Envy, it's the same agent comp that they've been running on Splits, and for Immortals, we haven't seen them too much here just yet. So this, again, is always going to be a little bit up in the air. They've only played against Cloud9 Blue, and we are getting started here on Split as our first map.
You mentioned not too many changes. Split, I mean, you would expect Split to be a little bit more experimental going into a game like this, but no, these 2 teams, they're going all in. Although Immortals, they haven't played it too much, they only played it once and they even lost on it. It was still a tight game against none other than Cloud9, but now it's a different beast. Now it's against Envy, one of the best teams in North America. Let's see if Immortals can pull off yet another upset in this tournament, or can Envy really wear that heavy crown that some fans they've been claiming are for other teams. Envy, they're here at least to go into the closed qualifiers with all the momentum in the world, and Immortals with a fresh roster, they're already happy, but they can't be complacent. This is their chance. This is the grand finals. It's BO5. It's Split. Let's get into it.
Oh, already early on, Envy going for a whole lot of frenzies. I feel like we've seen the frenzy really come to the forefront of the meta, but that does mean you have to sacrifice a little bit of that utility, right? Obviously, already, I think it's FNS having to sacrifice 2 cages. He's gone for 1 cage in 1 trip. So utility is going to be a little bit bare bones with these players on frenzies. Obviously, Caboose, no armor, but he does have the paranoia. So Envy, they sacrifice utility for firepower, but already shot up. Doesn't matter what he's got. A ghost is all he needs, and Crashies is the first blood.
One of the best players in this tournament thus far. Shot up, still looking for more. Of course he is, but has 2 people on the peak. How does he survive there? And he's still going for more. 1 hidden around the corner, and JC standing more or less stealing away the kill from FNS. Mame trying to get a little bit tricky with it, but now it's just Caboose in a 1v5, and he's not going to be able to get more than 1. So Immortals with a slick pistol round dub.
Great start as well on the defensive side. You want all the momentum you can get. Now, moving forward, they're not going to really have too much contest. Envy, no spike plant. They obviously go for majority frenzies. No, they're going for a full buy, it looks like. Already FNS picking up a stinger. They are going to try and contest this super, super heavily. Immortals, though, this is the time where they're looking to make this into a bonus, right? They can keep as many guns as possible, and they can move forward, and they don't have to worry about their economy. Everything in this game is about economy. It all revolves around how many strong buys you can get. And Immortals, this is where things start early on. Gangsta going to drop a slow orb. No, instead a wall to hold off B main. So they've got control there already, and it can test back towards heaven, but there's that guiding light. JC Stani, he's revealed the information, and Envy are going to start to march towards him.
Again, a big spot for JC Stani, but even then, Chemicals is going to be on the front line. Shot up. Had so many pixels in front of him, but to his side, a little bit of a flank on, if anything. Still, Chemicals and Gangsta able to get 2 frags. Nothing too crazy. Again, Envy in this round, they're just looking for a whole lot of damage to the economy of Immortals. See if they can take away some of those SMGs and force out a reinvestment. But through the smoke instead, Chemicals, he's going to maintain his hot streak from yesterday and get himself a 3K to stat pad. Immortals going into this round, however, it is their bonus. They're going to maintain the SMGs, but Envy investing a little bit too much into that last round. They still maintain at around that 2K mark, and they have to go for pistols again.
Yeah, unfortunate that Immortals, they only lose 1 player. You're right, this is going to be a complete bonus. It could technically be a double bonus, because then if they can keep 5 players here again, Envy are going to have to force up in the next. And Immortals, they're going to go with whatever they've got saved in this one. In the last round, a little bit rough. Immortals put a lot of emphasis to kind of control mid, right? This early wall going up, Killjoy utility on that A site, so they can focus elevator, they can focus mailroom, or Envy. They understand this map. This map is all about controlling these rotations, controlling this mid position, and Immortals, they're not scared to back away. However, JC Stani, he's gone down very, very early on, in Envy, they gain control here, but there is 1 player shot up to try and hold as an alarm bot goes off.
And again, JC Stani was playing more of a pivot in the last 2 rounds. Not exactly surprised that he's going to get lurked on, but even then, wow. Envy, they were waiting to pop out of an elevator, and the 1 player in ramp essentially acting as a flame to a moth in a sense, attracting all of that attention. And Envy now in a 2-man advantage. What is only, again, yet another eco round for them, and they're going to get yet another kill from behind. 2 in a row for Envy. It's slick, it's clean. As now Immortals, they're left now with 2 players, still the SMGs. They rally, but Chemicals, he was about to take on yet another cheeky kill from himself, but even then, Food has full control over the Heaven side. Both Chemicals and Nature, the 2 new young guns in a sense, looking to approach. Deep paranoia, but Food, he needed that kill early on, but a wide swing stinger from Nature gets it, but Mame might have just closed out the round. Nature has to get now a 1v3 with nothing but a stinger. And Envy, I mean, again, off the eco, still building up so much momentum, so much pressure, and their positioning is immaculate. They're going to take round number 3 and leave Immortals in a tricky spot.
Yeah, they're going to be... They were hoping to turn this into a second bonus round, but Envy, they do everything right. They stick together. They make the trade potential. Immortals, I kind of praise them in the pregame for being really good at finding trades, playing kind of back-to-back and ensuring that if 1 player goes down, there's going to be 2 players ready to swing and take the frag back from the same angle or a different angle. This time around, I think because they're putting so much emphasis towards mid, but they also need to have some players watching those extremities. They're kind of split up. Now in this one, Immortals, because the second round was basically a bonus and that third one was as well, they can at least full buy here. And Envy, despite losing that second round forced by conversion, because they win that third, they've got a strong buy as well. So early on, it's a full gun round, and we're right back on track in round number 4.
Envy halted, but still very much split, going for, again, early defaults with at least pressure over towards the A side. So you call it a default, but it's a little bit of a long execute because you have these 2 players essentially just trying to drag out as much attention as possible, or either that, a couple of picks. That could open up Envy for an option to a rotation or something of the sorts. But Envy running out of a little bit of time. Oh my, what a setup. You still had the turret up just to try to catch the attention, try to catch that first ping, and Shut Up was there for the trade. But instead, he goes down to Caboose, and Envy has a big opening that, again, gets a whole lot of attention from Immortals. A 3-man stack over towards the A side at the moment with only 1 in heaven. It's none other than Gangsta with a Phantom looking over the cross. Not going to be able to take down Food. Oh man, Stinger v Phantom. It's gonna be the Stinger to win it out. And just like that, Immortals down a man after the kill from JC Stanny. Envy has control of B. Now it's down to the post plant.
Oh, I think Chemicals at least heard the sound cue. Maybe not Food. This is a huge position. They're not going to expect this whatsoever. The spike down, planted for B main. And you saw how Food control in this mid position can hold on to these rotations, and he's going to hold on to them all. Sure as hell. Food with 3 in the round. Already the revive charged up. Immortals, they've got nowhere to go. It's just Chemicals, and he's got to save. Nothing you can really do. But again, Food playing a huge part of this round. Slow warp to prevent anyone to swing out mail. Again, Envy, they put an emphasis towards mid. They understand this map. They control these rotations, and they can go back and forth between the sites fluidly whenever they need, whenever they want to. And Immortals got caught completely off guard with that 3-player ace.
Oh. I mean, I call Nature an impact fragger in a sense, but you really have to give that title to Food. Yeah. Yesterday, he caught, if I'm not mistaken, 3 4Ks. That, of course, all led into round wins. And not only that, but Envy, they were down people in those rounds. So even then, Food has, I guess you could say, a clutch gene, either that or just a willing to just throw himself out there as a sage of all characters into interactions that he really shouldn't be in. And again, Food has always been a very stellar individual fragger ever since his days in Counter-Strike. And well, you put him on a stage, pure support character, you put him in a tight situation, and he's gonna be able to frag out. And there he goes again. Initial peek and B main from Immortals gets immediately taken down by Food. And now Envy, again, within seconds, they have a man advantage.
Right here, Envy, it's keeping a clean round, but also keeping up as many of these ultis as you can. Charge up as many as possible as well. I think on the Immortal side, at least, a couple of them are nearing completion. I think the lockdown, especially for Nature, could be big. The Empress for shot up. So, Immortals, any kills that they can get, they'll be glad they can get them. They're taking things slow here, Envy. Again, understanding that this is no slouch of a team. Immortals, they don't have much to play with here in Envy. They completely have this site, with 2 players flanking quick into heaven. Crashies, he does have a Vandal, he's got the firepower, and he's going to catch one off guard the second. Chemicals wanted the gun. Crashies was completely aware. There's those Seekers charged up in FNS. We're going to maybe add another tally to the ultimate.
Indeed he will. Takes down Nature in mid. Crashies already had Seekers. Just like that, it's going to be a flawless one for Envys. And no crazy economic damage coming in from Immortals. No, not even a win off the 1v1s. Not too much damage being done. So if anything, Envy with light util usage actually over towards that site. It's not going to be too much of a reinvestment. But that's not really the thing that we should be focusing on. It's really Immortals that's in the early rounds back towards the rifles and the SMGs at least are going a little bit more individualistic in a sense. They're starting to slow down more, which is at least a good adjustment.
Yeah, and this one though, Immortals retake towards this A side. That's why you only see Nature here, because he has that lockdown. He's going to try and play around that shot up again. He does have that Empress. If he needs to, he'll use it to explode. Same thing with a Showstopper us on the side of Envy. Seekers for the retake. Revive available as well. I mean, ultimates all across the board for these sides. And yep, there's that retake set up. Envy will have the site for free, but Nature with this lockdown, does he get hunted down? Yep, Seekers go in. He will be exposed at least to his positioning. And Immortals, they're going to try and regroup together. Again, because Envy have been playing that late lurk towards mid, it kind of keeps in the back of their mind that there could be someone there for Immortals. With a lockdown ready to go, and Envy, how can they hold this one down? They'll be forced out of the site, but Immortals, here they come.
Here we go, and not only that, but a lockdown to make things really chaotic. These players from Envy, they got a back on now, but even then, they're still holding down the site. That's massive for Crashes. Catching up 2, foot on the front lines. It doesn't even matter. Chemicals and JC Stanley still catching up frags. Everyone left away. And just like that, Envy, instead of just backing out of sight, they see the lockdown. And, I mean, they don't see anything at that point. They just see a round where they can actually frag out towards those back lanes. Immortals feels a little bit too comfortable. They run their ray on, and they have no chance. What a finishing sequence from Crashies and the boys of Envy.
He was the player that I highlighted in the beginning. 50 kills alone against NRG in that 2-map series, and here he goes again, a huge triple, and he just had the Seekers. He's now only 1 charge off of them. So quick and so fast, and not only that, Envy, they held on to the majority of their ults as well. They are looking good moving forward, and Immortals, how do they respond? Gonna be a light buy, shot up. He's a player that you really need to stand up, and you mentioned Food again. He finds an opening kill. Nature down instantly. Utility gun for the Killjoy. And Immortals, again, It's all about trying to pull some guns out of the hands of Envy. There's not much you can really do with the lesser guns, and already down a man. Envy play this extremely slow, very cautious of these weapons that Immortals hold on to.
And again, folks, with at least SMGs or with a little bit of a plugged up buy, you're going to expect these teams to really stack up a singular sites, just, in a sense, really just pull all of their eggs into one basket and just see if they can just try their luck. But Envy, they choose the right side, they get the information needed, and it's all going to be over towards that B site where the rotation comes in actually strong. Chemicals gets himself too with a little bit of a late nade.
This is winnable.
Finesse takes him back though, and absolutely it is. Gangsta now has a Vandal.
And a revive.
Revive and half armor. This is huge for Gangsta. He's gonna try this one out. In we go, 2v2. It's as even as you can get, but Mame now down to 12 HP, has the Blade Storm, but can't hit any of it. Still FNS in an off angle, not gonna get paranoid, but instead, he's gonna go away, but Mame with a shot onto Gangsta. Now it's a 1v2. JC Stanny, he's gone big before, but he has to go even stronger with nothing but a stinger. It's low HP on these last two players though. They're not even peeking for the right side. They're playing ring around the rosy, and they win the battle. 5-2 for Envy as Immortals. They boot on the Jets, but it's not worth it for them in the end.
That's an explosive play from Chemicals to even put that in a winnable position. Late rotation from Food. He has that, or apologies, not Food, Gangsta. That late rotation, he had that revive available. That became so winnable, but a clean shot from Mummy. That's what you need from him when he's online with the operator. There's not much you can do to take those one-on-one fights. And Envy, they do barely scrape by in that round, losing 3 players in a position where they should have kept the majority of them alive. But again, Chemicals can always be such a nuisance when it comes to those rounds. And Immortals, with any guns, they can be deadly. But this one, though, it's the full buy for both sides. And Envy, they're taking a little bit more presence towards the extremities, right? You already have Crashies grouped up in B main. 2 players posted up here on the A site. The rest will hang out towards mid, and Immortals, they're not going to try to react. You can see now kind of the concession or the seceding away from this mid position. They're not going to invest too much. And this is the trade style from Immortals. Stick together. 3 grouped up in heaven, prepared to trade one another out. I mean, that's classic Immortals so far.
Oh, classic. And not only that, but they can hold off that heaven position, but a hard retake in B if they absolutely need to. Envy, they get essentially pinched out if they even touch this B position. But Envy, they still got to hold on back and waiting for the Immortals players to really show any pixels. And indeed they do. Chemicals tiptoes the line in between safety and absolute death, because now Envy, they're still hounding that heaven area. But here we go. Sully, it's exactly what you mentioned. That stack early round is going nuts for them. JC standing in a great position, gonna be able to trade back 2 kills for this team. And now Envy, restricted down to 2, is depending on none other than Crashies to make his entry. Shut Up is there with a trade. You said trade heavy, and here we go. 1v2 for Food.
Yeah, Food does have a revive, and you talked about how good he's in these clutches. Well, he can maybe get a kill and get a revive, but 10 seconds left. It's going to be a little bit impossible. Shot Up, good to swing on back, and yeah, again, there's that Immortals trade presence. They have been so good against Sentinels, a team that is extremely well coordinated. Immortals made it look like child's play. They looked insane with that trade fragging. Shot Up always leading that line of fire, and then Chemicals right behind. It's classic Immortals once more, and here again is that replay. Perfect trade. Gangsta goes down. JC Stanny immediately ready for the second frag after that one as well for 3 in the round. I mean, Immortals, that's the style you need to play. Don't play the game of Envy. In the early stages, it felt like, again, they were kind of drawing themselves towards mid, trying to find one of the X's, and this is what they need to do. Stick together and play your own game as Envy. Here's a little bit more heavy presence. Mummy's been good on the op, and he could get an opening pick on the Shot Up, who plays on the left side now.
Slow Urban Heaven, but that's going to be Shot Up in a great position. And the cheeky dismiss. He delays it too, just in case he's able to get that first pick off. But instead now you have the boys of Envy still over towards that back line. Oh, Shot Up sneaking in through the smoke. It's pure timing, but I think he might have made a singular point of noise. Mame heard him, spread over that communication, and now still Immortals with a man advantage. Chemicals takes back Caboose. Envy, they're still trying out this A site just a little bit more, but look over towards B. It's Crashies all in his lonesome. Everyone from Immortals very reactionary. They full rotate, and they expect that this Envy team has at least gotten themselves control of the site,
Oh,
and indeed
Chemicals.
they've got it. Yeah, that's going to be the first signal of it. Crashes all the way back in their spawn. They're watching up the cross, and he's actually successful. A little bit of a cheeky shoulder peek, and not only that, but FNS could still probably get the kill. Good adjustment and good rotation, but even then, Chemicals with an absolute Kobe going to be able to get yet another one and make it a fourth, as Chemicals sweeps up the round against Envy, and Immortals, they have a little bit of life left in them because of Chemicals and shot up once again.
Yeah, great awareness from Immortals and Chemicals in general to recognize, well, at least from the first kill when he got the player in elevator, it allowed, I think it's Gangsta to make that rotation alongside JC standing. Yep, here on the minimap, you can see it. That kill from Chemicals opens that rotation up towards mid, and then they can double back as a team. You again see Immortals sticking as a pack, keeping that trade potential. That's something that's going to be emphasized, I feel like, throughout this entire game, is that Immortals, it's all about playing as a team, playing as a unit to allow trade potential. And Envy, they get caught unaware about it. In that round, though, it was all Chemical. He pops off again. He's been so good on the op lately, and here he is once more. 5 players or 4 players in B main, and one of them could go down instantly, but Chemicals drops, missing the shot. And now a nade to try and put them back in their places. It is going to be Mame tacked very, very low.
It's still interesting though, Envy. Not much control throughout the map. They're really adventuring at this point in terms of what would be a singular player over towards that mid side, but wow, okay.
Don't see
The
that every
boom
day.
body places it right on top of the wall. It's like he's playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater at this point. Gets a couple of points off of at least a quick grind, and there you go. Quick trick shot, and now we have shot up now with a couple of shots back. And the double
that all the
dismiss
time.
for more information. That is massive. Envy now down to a singular player. JC standing here for the cleanup. And no, you're absolutely right. Shot Up loves to play around with those dismisses, and he does yet another showcase of it in that round.
Yeah, Shot Up, he's always so cheeky with that kind of stuff. When you get a double, I love the way he uses the Reyna utility. I feel like some people always call Reyna a very selfish agent, but Shot Up, he uses every single utility piece to help his team, and there's a perfect example of it. Envy, they will be on an eco here. Last round was very, very rough. I feel just the presence of Chemicals alone can deter an entire team. And Envy, I mean, Chemicals can play both sides. We've seen him on A, we've seen him mid, we've now just seen him on B. So Envy, how do you play against an operator that just can't seem to miss only for a few shots while you get aggressive? Mame already straight up into heaven. He's got this control, and he's going to be looking to hold on to it now as well. Wall goes up to prevent Chemicals, and Mummy, he's going to keep on pushing. He's got the info. No need to reaggress, but Chemicals, he finds 2 before going down, and Envy, they disperse. 3 players left for both sides, and Immortals, 1 play is all that they needed to get back into this one.
Surely so, but Nature, there you go. I was about to say, Nature needs this one onto Caboose, as the second contact isn't there to trade him out. Immortals, they turn this from a huge disadvantage to actually an advantage in their favor. Now Gangsta, he could be able to sweep up yet another kill from behind. Crash, he's now in a 1v3, and Nature is there for the trade back. There you go. There's the KJ exploding a little bit, as now Immortals, they put themselves in prime position at the end of this half, 6-5.
Huge play from Chemicals. I mean, the confidence to even go for a play like that. Blast pack, you kind of know that you're going to end up going down. I mean, Envy grouped up in there. It's literally perfect. Chemicals has been such an X factor for this Immortals lineup. Him and Shot Up starting to come alive in the early stages in those first 2 rounds, the stringer rounds from Envy, those 5 in a row. It wasn't Shot Up, it wasn't Chemicals starting to pull their weight. But here they are now, popping off as usual, and Chemicals winning an early fight as Envy, they run their normal default, presence from Food into B main. FNS always been a very good lurk towards at A side as a backdoor, but he's grouped up. They're looking for a B hit. No presence left towards A except for that single trip. And what control can they get here? Shot Up, stopped by a smoke, and now stopped by Caboose, is forced to back away. But there are 3 players here, Gus, and Envy, with a minute 10 left on the clock, might be looking to actually split back into A heaven instead.
Could definitely happen, because now Immortals, they're actually letting off the gas pedal in that heaven area. So again, just in terms of timing, that would be a great,
the wall.
great optimal time for them. But even then, wall goes down, and you have at least 1 person waiting up, and a little bit of an off angle could catch a rotation back. So we got to pay attention to that interaction. Still with 45 seconds left, Envy, although we were talking about the potential over towards A, and especially with that util setup, could definitely grind them out. They're still aiming down the B site. We usually see a very heavy pick, but instead it's only going to be JC standing, holding it down. He's gonna be able to get one trade back for Caboose. Still one on site. It's Chemicals with a tight angle, and he gets another one back. Still more to pay attention to. That's a slick blast pack, but still not gonna be able to find anything more. Shut up with a big frag. Now it's a 1v3 for food. He's not even gonna go for the plant. Still wants a couple more frags to really make this one worth it. But with the wall going down, Shut Up just around the corner. So much pressure. Food's gonna go down to Gangsta. Immortals. Massive hold from only 2 players. As Envy on the attacking side, only able to get 5 rounds. Immortals actually have the advantage in a map that they haven't exactly played all too much.
Yeah, again, though, remember, we kind of go back to that stat line of the one map that they have played against Cloud9 Blue. 10-13 loss in Cloud9. They've proven themselves that they are a top team in North America on split. I mean, with Sunny and him playing on 200 ping, they still won every single split map that they played in the Winter Championship. So Immortals, while they haven't played this map as much, they are, again, still a very capable team in Envy. Now on the defensive half, though, this is the favorite side. This is the tried and true for Envy, and they've been always very consistent on the defense. We'll see if maybe things can change up where Immortals start to get a lot more momentum on the attack, but Envy sticking to, again, those 4 classics, or apologies, the 4 frenzies. They love them. They run and gun with them, and Immortals, it's an early default here with Envy, again, playing together, just like Immortals did, looking for those early trades, but a wall up towards mid should at least allow these 2 players in heaven, and now Crashies with this rotation, to focus here on this B-bomb site.
And again, it's all solo dolo. As it's still that same attention lurk that we like to see from teams, but he's actually not going to full commit to it, at least in the hands of Immortals. So instead now Envy. 4 players already fast on the rotation back, and FNS on the front line still holding things back. Huge from Mame, actually. Popping up from the heaven area, snagging one back, but there's still a whole lot more work to do. Yes, Immortals, they have control of sight, but Envy, I was about to say, they're starting to hound a little bit, but the ram side's a little bit loose. But with the turret up and Nature still here to help, well, Immortals now has a huge chance. So much oppression in that ramp area just from one player, and he's just snagged away so much time. Time-wasting strats, still crunching it off. Shot up with the first contact with a little bit of damage. Gangsta needs another one here to really make things count. But now Shot Up in a 1v2. Could potentially get a heal just from one singular frag. It's actually a fake. Not going to be able to get one, though. Tight angle again. Still playing Ring Around the Rosy around the... At least around the spike. But Crashies gets it back. And with a spike finally being defused and a smoke up in a really inconspicuous area, Envy, they're going to take the pistol round. The all-important pistol round as they start to rally up some rounds.
Yeah, huge pickup there for Envy to get the momentum going. Now, do we see a buyback there for Immortals? Envy looked really good on that retake, however. Big paranoia as well from Caboose into the back lines, kind of forcing those 1v1s. Good crossfire held by Immortals, but Envy, they go forward. You talked about Nature buying all that time, and even then, Immortals, they couldn't find the optimal positions. They should have been ready for that 3-player push, and now because of their slight faults, they're gonna have to compromise. Only pistols here, no full buy. The Sheriff, at least for Gangsta, how deadly can he be with it? A one-way smoke set up there by Envy, but canceled by the offensive smoke dropped by Caboose. He has a paranoia ready in the back as well now as Envy. Still dancing around with this idea. Immortals, they haven't much control. So this is a big gamble. You don't know how deep the players on A could be. And FNS up close has a cam to play around. And he's going to get the early info. 4 or 5 players spotted. Page goes up instantly and he's going to sit inside.
Oh. I was about to say ult orb getting taken. He heard that one. He was directly in sight. Could have been baited by it too, but Immortals had a whole lot of trade potential in that area. So still nice and disciplined as Immortals. It almost looks like their one goal there was just to try to take up the ult orb, boot the heck out of there, and Gangsta has control of mid with a kill and elevator. So he's controlling the rotation now from that elevator area. Still a little bit of time could be taken off the clock, still going into spawn as Mame finally takes down Gangsta. But even then, Immortals, they take all of this attention, all of these frags, and they double back again, Sully. They're on this A site, and they're here for an easy plant if they could get it down in time. FNS, what a rotation! Perfectly on time. Mame, FNS, both with frags. Envy, they're gonna snag a 7th. As again, Immortals winning out 5 rounds in a row. Envy at least getting a little bit of confidence back, like you mentioned, with the momentum. But Immortals with the rifles, they even have a cheeky little ulti this early on in the game. We could see some fireworks from Immortals in this round. Envy, though, they are on their bonus.
Big round for Envy, keeping as many players alive, but it isn't a full bonus. 2 players are going to have to force up here, Crashies and Food. So again, Immortals, they play around with the way here, and then moving into the next, it's going to be a weakened buy from Envy. We'll see what Envy can do about it. Lots of pressure for Immortals into B main and Caboose in the back. He's not playing behind the pallet. Instead, I think he's going to try and dance around and back away into spawn if he needs to, but a lockdown. Didn't even see that one come in. I don't think NVO were either, so they're going to back all the way into the site, but Immortals are playing this waiting game, and Caboose, he still has a paranoia. But paranoias, they go both ways. JC Stunny affected, and Caboose, he plays around this box. This is massive from Caboose.
No way.
In the smoke now, he's got to wait. There's one, down goes Nature, spin back for 2, and Caboose finds 3. That's what you want when you're in the back site, and he's put Envy in a 2v2 as Chemicals comes big. They've got the advantage, Immortals.
I mean, Immortal somehow does one better. Massive from Chemicals with a 3K, but now it's FNS, now in a 1v3. Oh, the revival from Gangsta. Okay, things got a little bit trickier. I was about to say the 1v2, very much possible, but 1v3, fresh HP, and power on site, coverage of heaven. They're getting all that information. And speaking of info, FNS, he hears one over in heaven, but with an alarm button in front and Gangsta watching the cross, that's going to be Immortals with an 8th round. Only 2 players going down, so that rebuy is going to be relatively easy, especially if they start to redistribute that economy. But Envy now going into this next one, you mentioned that it wasn't exactly a full bonus, and that's really coming back to bite them in this round. With 2 players down at just about 2K, they really have to be economically sound, as they might just get reset in this round.
Yeah, this is really rough for Envy. Obviously, Crashes and Food being those 2 with the rifles. They're going to be the ones that have to salvage the pistol and the stinger. And Immortals, they know that, and they realize that there were 2 rifles in that last round, so 2 players forced up. Now they're going to try and play around that. Slow and steady this time from Immortals. Envy, Trailblazer in, does buy a lot of info, and yeah, I think it even stunned JC Stunny in there, so Crashies might look to retake. But the Guiding Light doesn't send it, so he doesn't have all the info, and Immortals will be able to take back B main, but they're trying to figure out the mid for Bruce caught off guard. Dynamic duo of Shot Up and Chemicals, they go hand in hand together. They will find too early on as Crashies with just a frenzy. A Phantom around the corner, but it is going to be so difficult to hold. There are so many angles and no utility to support them in the middle of B site.
Cover going out.
Indeed, there isn't. Immortals, they're looking to exploit that in a sense, although, again, it's very inadvertent. Again, nothing towards that site, but there's still a little something from Crashies with that turret getting placed down right in the middle of the gap. It's a chance for Crashies, actually, with the timing to get a couple. Mame, here we go. 1v3 for the man. He has the op, he has the Blade Storm. If anything, this is a huge chance for him to get probably that sweet play of the day. Let's see if Immortals really crosses into his crosshairs. Still waiting out for a couple of players to walk on, but these post-plant positions from Immortals, they're not exactly looking to really let go of it. So yeah, Mummy, if he had gotten that first pick at least, definitely he would have gone for it, but with time getting crunched off the clock and Immortals not really getting too aggressive, it's going to be Mummy with a really good save, considering how long lasting his setup is really going to be.
Yeah, you talk about those post-plant positions, Shot Up underneath heaven. I mean, everybody's watching an angle. Gangsta looking towards spawn, JC Stunny looking back towards me. I mean, they've got all their extremities covered. If one player goes down in the position that they're holding, for example, if Shot Up were to get taken down by Mummy in heaven, those 2 players, JC Stunny and Gangsta, can instantly swing. So yeah, no chance there for Mummy, no matter what. But Envy, you never know. They always look deadly, and now with a half buy, essentially, they're going to force up a little bit around this operator, mainly just pistols, and they'll see what Mummy can do with it. Again, they have the Blade Storm. They've got a decent set of ultimates. The Seekers can come in very handy. The Neural Theft as well in getting info, and if you want to take the TP Caboose, you can if you want to. Go ahead and stick it, but Immortals grouped up towards this side. Food, he's going to be in for a nasty surprise if he goes and peeks.
Or either that. It's very plentiful for him. It just looks so goofy. Food on top of his own wall, essentially just vibing. They do more or less speak him out. The boom bot doesn't catch anything, but again, a tricky position. It was almost literally a one and done, but he could have just tried his luck and oh my god. Shot up with a glorified Goomba stomp at the end there. So now Envy now the 3 players remaining. They have ultis, but most likely they're going to carry them over into the next round. Not much to actually fight back with, and oh my. Chemicals and Gangsta still with 2 back in. Mame, really the more important player to actually get the save up. He's got to run. Immortals, they're still trying to hound over towards that heaven side. Same thing in Spawn. And no, Mame's just going to stick around here. Still with 1 back. That's some exit potential, but there's JC Stanny. Massive now for Immortals. They've gotten that operator out of the hands of Envy, and depending on their economy in this next round, it's not going to get reinvested. Mame really has to stretch for it, and indeed he will. With just about 400 credits for utility and 400 more credits really just for light armor, Mame is going all in on this buy. Same thing with FNS and food. Envy, they're putting themselves in yet another one of those all or nothing situations where they just get reset off of this. This essentially gives Immortals that 12th round if they win.
Yeah, this is so tricky now for Envy. Early wall goes up, but food. He's going to play the contact. As soon as a shot is rung, that's when that wall will go up. But Immortals making moves. I think I missed TP from JC Stani. He kind of started a little bit on the mini-map. Oh, Mummy! That's what you want, and there goes up the wall. So mid control gained. If you're Immortals, at least, it's such a risk to even try and continue to push forward. Food still lingering around, and Mummy's going to take his op elsewhere. He peeks down B main, and FNS playing just around the corner of ramp. It's good control here for Envy. So Immortals, how do you really play around this? Throughout this entire game, again, Immortals playing very good with that trade potential. Here they are again, sticking and grouping up together. Can they retake this mid position? You have Chemicals with his double blast back. That could be the X factor. We saw what he did on the defensive half. Can he do it here again? Because there's only 45 seconds left. And Immortals, they need to get a move on. And it looks like they're going towards the A side where 2 players wait.
It's going to be real tough for Envy, and not only that, but the Seekers, they're going completely over towards the other side, so that's a little bit of early information, but is it exactly optimal? We don't know just yet. Chemicals with a showstopper, not going to be able to catch anything. Instead, now FNS with a really good time to ramp push with a massive 2K. Now Gangsta goes up on the wall, and we didn't even see the angle, but it doesn't matter. You can just tell that the frag was sick. Food, what a frag back, and Envy with a systematic win on A with actually a little bit of an early ulti. It really just came down to FNS and a whole lot of attention from Envy on the back lane. Immortals had no chance going forward, and now they have to readjust.
Yeah, huge play from Envy as well to kind of pivot around Mummy. Do they continue to do that here? I think that's going to be a key piece in kind of bringing this game back. Immortals, you mentioned that was the round. They win that. They reset Envy. They can get themselves to 12. Now here's early smokes dropped by both sides. One back towards mailroom, so they're going to try and isolate the player in elevator. And one drop by Envy to the top of B main to try and take some presence. And Immortals, they want this mid control. Trailblazer goes out for some information. Doesn't really spot much. He saw a shot up. Slow or a bit slow. Trailblazer down just a little bit. But on the flip side, Mummy holding in a very aggressive angle where he can easily get caught off guard. But thanks to these trips, I think FNS now backing him up. He should be safe and sound. A lot of info here for at least the side of Envy. They've got control towards A with the alarm bots. But how do they play around this? Because they've drawn 2 players here and shot up. He's trying to cause a ruckus, draw these rotations away. And as Envy drop a wall up towards the top of B main, they are buying so much time off of this clock. And Immortals, they don't really have much utility to back them up. This paranoia is going to have to come in so clutch into the back site.
The quick Empress, Immortals, they emerge, and food actually right on top gets a nice angle onto JC standing, but that eye is not going to do anything. Instead, now Crashy's going to be able to get one back, but still food there to help. Chemicals with a massive one, but still gets traded. Still now a 3-on-3 as Gangsta actually gets the revival, but nature. The timing on that flick is so massive for Immortals. They get the man advantage. He's trying to hold down heaven. Now FNS gonna be able to get a whole lot of information off the Nero theft. Not only that now, but a counter revival potentially, but Gangsta shuts it down. I didn't even realize it. That's more than clutch from Gangsta, as now he only has to face on FNS, low HP, and he gets it. Gangsta probably doesn't know it, but that just saved Immortals this entire game.
They needed that round. It took them a little bit. It took one extra round, but they get it through in the end. Now, Envy, how do they recuperate? Because they, again, are going all into this one. Does Mame get the up? That's the question. He's been so pivotal. He was pivotal in that round where they ended up picking it up and keeping Immortals off of that potential 12. Do they get him back on it? They don't. It doesn't look like they have the credits to afford to. He's got a 6 adjust a Blade Storm. And now Envy, this is such a big hole they've got to now try and dig themselves out of. And they are going to try and play the aggressive game. They're stacked up right outside of B main, and players are going to try and get aggressive. There is a slow orb at least, so for all they know, there could be players waiting. It's going to get ugly here. Here comes a swing. JC Stani not taking the peak full on, so Envy got control. But that is a huge paranoia in nature. Big with 2, JC Stani with a 3rd, and that was the gamble they took in the price they paid.
Well, they gotta go down ASAP over onto that B site. Still the rotation coming back quick, but no. Spike will be able to go down, no issues. But Mame, he's been holding onto this Blade Storm for so long. And this is really the round where you can go massive. There you go. Gangsta playing around, getting a little bit cheeky with the beaks, and he gets them back. Now it's a 2-on-3 with FNS here to help. Still in heaven, no one actually able to peek him out. There's 2 behind that wall, 1 in the back of sight. Mame, watch out, probably gonna go for an updraft or something of the sort. Still has a dash and everything to work with. He emerges with the right click. It was absolutely needed. FNS tries his hardest as his head is on a swivel, peeking out every angle possible. And now Immortals, with such an explosion in B main and a good hold of the B side post plants, they are now only 1 round away from beating Envy for the first time in this entire tournament.
What a story it would be. Envy, we talked about them being 12-0 in maps. 6 best of 3s, 12 maps for them, 0 lost against them. This is insane, Envy. 1 round away from dropping their first map in the VCT in Immortals. What a story it would be. We knew Split was going to be intense. We knew the potential that Immortals had, but this is unlike anything we could have expected. 4 rounds ahead and a lockdown to try and steal the deal. It's just Caboose in the back. He's been so good in this pivot position, and it's a Theme Flash that almost opened things up. Or apologies, I think it was the Guiding Light instead from Crashies, but still Immortals recuperate. Sean up pushing the back line has got 3, and that could be it for Envy.
It's yet another banger of a round from Shot Up. It's just consistent frags, isn't it? FNS, he's tried his hardest. Multiple rounds in this game where he's had multi-frags. But this one, it's such a tall task. It's almost improbable. It's almost impossible. FNS around the corner going to be able to take down JC Stani, and Shut Up is there. 4 kills for Shut Up in the round. 13 rounds for Immortals. The once immortal Envy has been taken down by the Immortals. For the first time in this tournament, a map has been taken away.
What a huge, I wouldn't even call it an upset at this point. What a huge statement, though, from Immortals to take down the first map, like you said, from Immortal Envy. They looked unstoppable going into this one. 12-0 in maps. Well, now it's 12-1. What a statement from Immortals. And to take it off of Envy's map pick, we said that these 2 teams, the first 2 maps, the opening maps, were going to be the weaknesses of their opponents. And that was not a weakness at all for Immortal. 13-8, they looked confident in splits, and they look confident going into the rest of this series.
I mean, Chemicals and Shot Up certainly look confident. Chemicals with 24 kills on the game and Shot Up with 19 at the end of things. Again, we came into this game with Shot Up having, I think it was 20 average kills, so 19 just below average. So a little bit underperforming, but it is what it is. Chemicals, again, yesterday, it was really his coming out story in a sense. Yeah. Really coming out against one of the best teams in North America and being able to frag very consistently at that. So today, now 24 kills to open things up on a map where Immortals doesn't exactly play really at all, even with this iteration of the roster playing it once. With the old iteration of the roster coming into this tournament, only played it 4 times in the last few months, folks. So not a lot of experience, but it doesn't matter. It's a curveball that they needed, and for now, we are going to be done with map number 1. Map number 2 is coming up in just a little bit, but before we go, we wanted to thank our sponsor for this event, for the Challengers number 1, our boys over at HyperX. Folks, you guys already know the story. I wear a headset. The only headset that really fits me is none other than HyperX headsets. Why? Because they are at the utmost comfortability for you gamers. Millions of gamers already use them anyways, and you guys should too. They are the peripherals and DRAM sponsor for the first stage of the VALORANT Challengers tournaments here in North America. Again, thank you so much to HyperX. And for now, we're going to be out of here. But in just a couple of moments, map number 2 between Envy and Immortals for grand finals of Challengers number 1 Open Qualifier will be coming at you.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here, because this is just turning into a bit of a dog battle.
Like in groups always look.
I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it. He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.